Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to our postgraduate workshop. Today we're discussing international students, networking, everything you need to know as an international student, living, working, and achieving your career goals here in Australia. So we have, my name's Beck Brown, and I'm working in conjunction with the Postgraduate Association and Joe from SCU Careers. And before we get started, I'm just going to pass you over to Joe. He's going to introduce their amazing service. If you haven't already connected with Joe and the team, they are extraordinary human beings, and they are there for you to help you achieve your career goals. And he's going to just give you a little bit of information about their service, and also he will follow up with those that were enrolled in this workshop. So please make sure you come in live information about specifically how to connect with the service. But he'll also talk through it this morning. So I'm just going to pass you over to Joe. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Beck. Thanks for the intro. So hi, everyone. I wanted to just provide a brief overview, introduction to the career service in case you've never heard of us. So the great thing about Southern Cross is that there is a careers and employability service that is completely free for you to access. So what that means is there's a team of career consultants like myself at all three campuses, and you can book in for a one-to-one appointment. And we do other things like coming into workshops like this and talking about specific career content that we think relevant to you. So after this workshop, I'm going to provide and send you an email that's going to walk through actually how to make an appointment and do these things. So don't worry right now about how to specifically do that. So in the appointments, it's an opportunity for you to just check in about your career plan, where you're at. You know, most postgraduate students have a sense of where they'd like to go, but if you don't, in terms of your career, the next step for you, that's fine too. We offer a range of support around example resumes, example cover letters. So if you're looking for graduate roles after university, that's something that we can help you with. So if you've found an organization or an employer that you're interested in, we will work with you with your application documents. As I said, comparing that to some examples that we have, and then customizing that or tailoring that to that particular job. So at this end of your education journey, it's quite targeted. It's very specific around, how we can support you, or how can we build that bridge between where you're at now into employment. So the appointments are conducted mainly over the phone or Zoom, depending on what you would prefer to do. And we're starting to open back up to face-to-face appointments as well. So you've got a few options. The nice thing about the phone or Zoom appointments is it doesn't matter where you're located. We've done those appointments all across Australia and internationally as well. So yeah, and it doesn't matter which consultant that you select or tap into, because we're all have the same training and all can provide the same service. So as I said, I wanted to just introduce myself and the team. I wanted to let you know that we're here to support you. This is what we do. And to have a look at that email to follow the prompt. And actually, if you'd like to make an appointment, then you're more than welcome to do so. So that's all I'll say at this point. I'll hand back to you, Beck.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Joe. I'm going to pass you over to Alison now. She'll just introduce the Postgraduate Association. We're absolutely delighted to have both of them. So over to you, Alison.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, Beck. Are we recording?
Yes.
Oh, I just didn't see it come up. Oh, good. So hi, my name's Alison Watts. I'm from the Southern Cross Postgraduate Association, and we've been enjoying this collaboration with SCU Careers in presenting these workshops. And we've got a series of workshops coming up every Friday. So what I might do is just post in the chat box, like our events calendar, where people can go in and Yeah, so that might do it for me. Back to you, Beck. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Alison.
All right, I might leave
we'd love to have you. Thank you, Joe. See you later.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you. We would love to have you guys come in live. So if you're listening at home, this is a really safe space. And today we're going to be talking about, building networks and working in Australia. And one of the ways to do that is by engaging in these professional development, career development and learning workshops. So we would love for the future for more of you to be coming in live. I will take good care of you and make sure that that there's, you're welcome just to sit in the background and just to be here with us so we get to know you, and also be able to answer any, outside of this, when the recordings are off, to be able to answer any of those pressing questions that you as individuals have about your postgraduate journey, your time here as an international postgraduate student, and how we can best help you. I'm just going to pause just for 1 sec. All right, everybody, welcome back. Very shortly, we will have our guest speaker here this morning to join us. He will be here in about 5 minutes, so that's perfect timing. I just wanted to give you a visual of Joe's career services, so just very simple for you. He is, as he mentioned, he'll also be sharing with those that were enrolled in the workshop how to find their services. But just a reminder, one of the things that you may or may not realize is just how amazing a resume sample can be in terms of knowing what the layout needs to look like. And he has samples for most of the courses. So we have a welcome to country here. So before we dive more deeply into this workshop, I would like to acknowledge and pay my deepest respects to the ancestors, elders and descendants of the lands upon which we meet and study. I'm mindful that within and without the buildings, these lands always were and always will be Aboriginal land. Now, I wanted to, in preparing this workshop, when I was thinking about, what really makes a career successful, no matter whether you're an international postgraduate student or a domestic student, it really starts, before we look for opportunities, it really starts with understanding who we are. And there are many wonderful resources that you can source online to learn more about your own personality. And I'll just give you, and I'm going to come back to that slide there, to give you a little bit more information for you to explore and to learn and to understand what makes you unique. In knowing what makes you unique will help you when you're in networking settings. So knowing what your own story is, it will help you prepare your career plan. So knowing what you're good at, what your strengths are, what's really important to you, then knowing that and having that preparation, it can help you map out the future in terms of where it is that you would like to go. And so when we're thinking about our careers, the earliest stages, and I hope if you're here, I'll be delighted at whatever stage you're listening to this workshop, and those of you that are live. But if you are in your first year of your postgraduate study, with us, that is actually the most wonderful time to start thinking about our careers. Traditionally, we have been taught to think about our careers as we're, kind of galloping up really closely to the exit, over that finish line and into that transition. The earlier you start to learn about yourself, start to explore and start to take action to build your career, and we'll talk through ways to do that, some really simple ways, the earlier the better. All right. So in understanding and learning more about yourself, Joe's team have lots of resources related to values, goal setting. You can online, you can undertake what we call Myers-Briggs personality test to learn more about your personality type. Excuse me, and personality fits in terms of, the workplace. Are you extroverted? And so what that means is, do you love to be in a workspace where there's lots of activity and social and in work that where you're acting in a persuasive manner, where there's lots and lots of communication, either online, face to face, or are you more of an introvert and prefer to have time to take that time to think through on your own or in quieter, smaller settings, just as examples of ways to start thinking about yourself. When we're thinking about our skills, we're thinking about, well, what skills do we need? And this is where that exploration and that preparation, what skills, what technical skills, so those are the skills related to the work that we do, or the study that we're doing. What are the specific skills associated with that? And you will gain some of those skills in your study, and what we call employability skills. And I'll break this down for you. But also, what other ways can you gain more experience and confidence with those both technical employability skills? And that's by doing your university study, but also by coming along to these workshops, attending any other professional development workshops, either in the employability space or in a technical setting. So through your the professional association, so the representing body for the profession that you're going into, just as an example. Other ways to build both your employability and technical skills whilst you are a postgraduate student before you graduate is through things like volunteering, work experience, and they're slightly different, and internship. So on-the-job training, work integrated learning, all right? So knowing about yourself is enormously beneficial in terms of preparing to go out into work and looking for ways to develop, so that when you do pop out at the final end of your degree, that you are, if we go back to this slide here, knowing what makes you, it should be here, knowing what makes you unique and why, and the reason it matters is, I'll pop it here, is that you want to be memorable. And I'm going to come back and talk more about this slide in a moment, after I welcome our guest speaker who's just arrived. So I'm going to let David into the room. It'll just take a moment for him to join. So starting with that self-awareness, and if that and that can seem like a foreign and something that you haven't heard about before, just go back to take a screenshot of this slide and then start to explore. And we're going to dive more into this as we go in various different ways throughout this workshop. Hello, David.
Hello, hello.
Oh, hello. I'm so glad that you're here. Welcome.
Hello, everybody. Good morning.
Hey. So David has just joined us. David, we're recording this
Sure.
session for our students that are joining us from home.
Yep.
And I've just started to talk about this slide here. Which you would be familiar with in terms of just yourself and what you teach as a facilitator in another setting, and how important these are. So what I might do is invite you, if you're okay, David, just to introduce yourself as we discuss, and to tell us your career story, if you're comfortable to do that.
Yes.
Thank
Ready
you.
for it? Maybe 1 hour now.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. We've got at least an hour, so
No. Okay, cool.
please take it away. You've got the stage, David.
Yeah. Thank you back, and hello, good morning, Mary. Thank you for this opportunity, allow me to be here to just like telling my story and also share some of the thought that regarding to like career, this perspective. So basically, first I was born in China, in a city named Guangzhou in the southern part of China. And then I spent my entire teenage and also like my early adulthood over there. I graduated in a undergrad degree in the urban planning. So I was an urban planner for a few years. And then later on, I was like, nah, I don't really like it. So just like, because the work condition is not my favorite. And then I decided to look for a career change. And as the time that I always sort of interested in event, and especially that Canton is one of my city is one of the business hub for organizing trade fair. So I decided, oh, why not just go for something that is popular? I mean, like it is the booming industry in China. So I decided to come to Australia to study international event management back in 2008 in a postgraduate degree. It was a very interesting experience for me because like totally it's different, but I love it. After 2 years study, I actually very lucky before I graduate, I already do my networking everything and then just like secure myself a job before graduate. So straight away, I got provide a job as a customer service, sorry, that's the full name, client service officer, something like that. So pretty much that is sort of like a role that a very mixture of like being a sort of like coordinate daily activities in the office, but meanwhile I would go with my my boss to meet the clients. So sort of like a, say that way, secretary's job as well. But I really enjoy it. And along the way, I pick up bits and pieces here and there. Like for example, organize meetings for people for this or for the client. And also, I was even able to just like have a try to be an interpreter in the event as well. So just a lot of things that for me to try to new, and then I can sort of like figure out, oh, what I like, what I don't like. Later on, move on to, because my visa situation, so my student visa is about to finish, so a little, oh, okay, I need to look for alternative way, and so I begin to look for sponsorship to stay in Australia. So I was working in a restaurant for a few years. It was I love meeting people. I love food, so myself, I'm a foodie. So the content itself is good, but however, I experience this kind of situations to burn out for a significant period of time, and also because into the visa, I'm sort of stuck in that moment. I can't go anywhere. So at the end, actually, I need to give that up because it just actually cost me like a significant health issue, mentally and physical health issue. And then that is also the time I begin to look for alternative way for my sort of my visa. So at the end, I sorted out fantastic. I even, but the situation is actually bad that I was stuck because the visa changes, I cannot work. No work, no study for a period of time, for 2 years. So it caused me a really significant stress for my situation, for my, financially, and But the good thing is, it gave me an opportunity to rethink what is important in my life and what's my career direction can go.
I just got tingles.
Yeah, so yeah, so after that, I move on to like I think thanks for these things that I continue doing the networking with my friends and everything. When I got my visa straight away, my friend told me, I got a job for you working at a university to do the catering and event officer job. Fantastic, great. So I worked as like match what I'd done before my hospitality and also event background, and then I was working at university. So stable pay. So that's what I'm looking for. And it's been last for 2 years. But COVID kicked in. No event, no job. So straight away I become unemployed. And that is a big challenge for my life as well, because I was already like 38ish. It's that kind of moment I feel like that I'm sort of like, oh God, I'm a failure. I'm gonna have a job, even though it's not my fault to not having it. But this kind of self-sabotage things comes in. Yeah. So moving on then, and actually give me a moment to think about what can I do in the future. And then that's the time I decided I want to move on to the training role, because I actually, during my work, I do some new stuff, training, and also because working in uni, I meet students as well. So it brings me that the joy actually when I like, oh, somebody learned something. So gradually I move on to the training role. And so I begin to go back to went back to uni to study a certificate for in training and assessment. So it's a very good way to build up that knowledge of how to do teaching, how to run a seminar, teaching training session. And then, after that, gradually pick up pieces of opportunities here and there to make my profile more convincing to be a teacher. So the latest achievement that I have is so in this year that I begin to work as a tutor back in my own uni. So I found joy of doing all this. So I think the summary about my story is I took many turns in my career because it's especially the time that I do not know what do I want to do. So my way of exploring the workforce is by trying different things to figure out the things that I do not want and then I want to do, and then find something that, oh, this is what I want. The second theme for my life, my career, it will be be resilient when the moment unfortunate event happen in your life. Even though that during our student time, when we're student or when we are joining in a training session, we give you all the equipment that you're ready, but life can hit you hard. And then that moment, it is a time when you ask, okay, what can I do? So that is the moment that you mentally will be ready for how to be resilient and also be adaptable to change yourself to fit the new environment. And then lastly, my way of doing things is just continue to do the networking with the people. Because they are your secret
weapons.
You have all these secret weapons. You're not alone. And then by talking to different people, telling them what you're going through, what you're looking for, and at some point and somewhere, they will help you. There are at least 3 jobs that I have in my life. It was just by referring from other people. So I hope these are the summary of my career and some of the, I don't know, tips and experience that I would like to share.
Thank you so much. And David, I love the honesty as well, because I think that we get taught that, just in society, that we're going to finish university and it's just going to go all straight and, and we'll move from this job to that job. And when nobody tells us that it's going to go like this. And I think that I really wish that there were opportunities in my life for people to share those, so that when they come, you're a little more prepared for, oh, they said this would happen, rather than they said it was all going to be this perfect little straight line.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges that we have here is that we always got told the rainbows, then butterflies.
Yes.
But they also have cloudy days and miserable day as well. So it's actually just like what we're doing now is and to let the student to realize what is happening in the real world. It is very important. And also for student yourself, for students, actually just like, yeah, just exposed to that at the early stage, and then just to prepare for it, and then and just gradually prepare yourself for that moment to come. It is everybody going through that. It's a very common thing as well.
Yeah, and I often say to students that if you were, you know, in a workspace and you walk down the hall and you ask people about their careers, and you would find that in 90% of cases it was this a lot of squiggly lines and sideways and up and down and very simple. And I really appreciate that you shared that. And also there's some real themes in there. So there was, you know, adaptability and having to rethink and unexpected changes, but then also what I hear in your story, and also perhaps why I wanted you to come, is because you didn't kind of like, you hit those roadblocks. And I think that for international students, though, around gaining residency here, and that pathway to being here can be full of really, you know, the students that I know that have stayed and that have transitioned. And I've got 3 examples of all 3 students, all did the same course, and just an idea, and they all went on to stay here in Australia. However, just in relation to their visa situation, they have 3 completely different stories. And so, but what I know about all of those 3 students that did stay here was that they stuck with it. And they stuck to what their goal was in terms of their professional life, which was staying here. And they navigated their way through it with much hope and action, because I think that, you know, you obviously have to engage in that process, don't you?
Definitely.
Otherwise, you probably times where you wanted to go, you know what, I'll give up.
It happens, like, especially that this is sort of my personal experience. I'll be like, I took so much effort to change to come here. As I give up probably sort of the other side of my life from the world, the other side of the world, and come to here by yourself, and then you take just the experience like a culture shock. You sort of things out by yourself. A lot of those. Some of the international students I know, they actually probably they just like it's the first time when they come to study overseas. It's the first time they leave the house, leave their family. So all these challenges, structures actually. It's what we're facing especially for international students, is actually to face them and need to resolve those challenges in a very, really short period of time. Like, for example, like for me, international to come a postgraduate, only have 2 years to deal with cultural shock, to live your own way, to dealing with adulthood, and also looking for jobs and find what my future career could be. So there's a really intense experience for that. So, and of course, I'm not saying that everybody will have exactly the same experience I have, but the challenge is there. So everybody will have different type of challenge in your life. So so I found the way that for me to pushing through it is just like always stay believing ourselves. I just like, we have the ability to take control of our own life. No matter what happens outside, every day try a little bit extra step, pushing through some barrier. Just like you go to gym, you need to put extra weight every week. And then at the end, you look back for in a week's time. Well, that's how much I achieve.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
And,
please.
oh, Mary, yes, please.
Yes.
Yes, sorry, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, okay. David, thank you very much for that. It gives me a bit of confidence really too. I know you're still talking and sorry I interrupted you there, but I
No,
just can't
please,
help
I love it. We love it.
can't help um just to feel a little bit confident with the story that you're sharing because it gives me an idea that, how you just navigated through your job options and how you changed your career position. That to me is inspiring because I would find that intimidating and that I just found that really helpful. Also your persistence and perseverance,
Yeah.
that's another good thing because like moving to another country, as you said, culture shock, oftentimes you just feel intimidated and it just gets you really dejected, low spirits and all. So
Yeah.
the perseverance side of things which you mentioned was also I would say a good tip, kind of like a reminder to just keep going.
Yeah.
I'm also
Go ahead.
and also what I found from your the conversation sorry your story was putting yourself out there. I mean, I've got to give you credit for that because I'm very like an introverted person, and so I find that challenging. But like you putting yourself out there, I feel it's another inspiration as well.
Oh, thank you so much.
And also another good point you mentioned there was taking into account when have job, taking into account the mental and health aspects as well. So
Yeah.
some of the things I found out, just you can't work until you burn out, or you just have to have a good working environment, one where it's not toxic and also make you the priority. So
Sure.
thank you very much. You've just really hit some of very interesting points for me, but I won't take up much of your time. I just wanted to say thank you
Oh,
for
I'm
sharing.
I'm pleased. I'm really pleased. Yeah. So,
No,
yeah. So
beautiful. Thank you so much, Mary, for
Thank you.
jumping in there, giving that feedback. It's because that's in fact why I wanted to have guests, have a guest here, and particularly David, because of those points almost identically that when David and I talked about him coming to join us, those were some of the things that I want to give that hope, and then what obstacles to look out for, but then what are the tools, what are the strategies, and so that you've got a sense of some of the experiences that David's gone through, both mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, I imagine, and spirituality. I mean that in the context of whatever your life is, and so I wanted him to have that opportunity for that message to come across, and for him to share his tools. So thank you so much for almost summarizing those key points for us.
Oops, too early.
Yeah, that's right. We got lots more questions for David, and please continue your story, David. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
That was just part one.
That's part one, yeah. So Mary, thank you so much for the feedback, and this is what the conversation kicks in, and then we're talking. So you already done something really amazing there, just like reaching out to get idea from different people. So what you already done, I give you a huge thumbs up about what you do now, and keep doing so. And then you will just broaden your horizon, and then idea just flows in. And definitely that the moment when you feel stuck, and those memory of participating and talking to different people give you the energy to moving on, give different strategy to do things. One thing that I really want to just also emphasize a little bit is, this is also my personal experience. When I first come to Australia, that I feel that I'm a foreigner. Okay, I'm from a different country. My English is not the best. I feel, and also my Asian heritage. I think, okay, so don't be too loud out there, just like me, that kind of thing. So there've been moment that I've been actually just quiet, so even though my personality a bit outgoing, but because all those like in a new environment, feeling uncomfortable, I actually become a little bit introverted. So probably in a way that I can sort of like, yeah, I can understand the feeling of like feeling a bit shy to hide it behind. And then, but after like living here for a while, I think you have the freedom to give your opinions, to let other people know what you're thinking. It's actually people would love to hear your point of view, because this is the way that how the conversation and the idea develop, flow. So I'm not sure in your case that if you have any of those influence in your own culture, will have say that just, well, for example, Chinese people would say, wait for the sort of the authority to say first, and then you are wait for the next. And I'm just like, because the way that if we say something commenting on that, especially if something disagreed, is to see as a challenge or challenge on their authority. So if you had that in Australia, this kind of thing, barrier is less, and especially if you are in a open like in the academic, like at school, or if you're in the healthy work environment, people love to hear your voice. So don't feel that you're strained, that you can't say anything. So of course, I'm not saying that, oh, there's a point out something's wrong. It's more like you need to be think about that, how can I be a valuable member for that team, and then make you like not saying useful, like became meaningful person for that team. Because I've been to the situation that some of my classmates, they have brilliant idea, but they just don't talk. So, and then they just shied away, and then just like become the team's like, why do I need you on my team? And that become a burden of the team. And then if that happened in a real work environment, well, I'm not sure that will be a way to continue the job for long term. So there's one thing I really enjoy that actually like throughout my career in Australia is just like, there's no stupid question. If you do not know, always ask. Okay. And it's highly likely the question that you ask that other people, they don't know as well. They have the same question as well. Yeah, so that is one thing that I will come in. And the other things that I would like
to... David, that point that you just made there is incredibly important, I think, for some of our international students that do come from cultural backgrounds where you know, the respect for somebody more senior, and that you keep quiet and you don't share. And whereas in Australia, we're an individual culture rather than a collective culture. And so in Australia, what is valued in a work situation and setting is very different to perhaps Chinese culture. And so I think that is a really, really important point that you've made, and also probably has contributed to your success, because you've learned that there's just a different value system in terms of communicating in a workplace and contributing in a workplace, which is the polar opposite to other parts of the world. And so and that point, would you like to talk a little, could you talk a little bit more about what that cultural reference to seniority, what that looks like in your culture and perhaps other parts of the world, because there'll be similarities. I mean, around the world we have collective and individual cultures. So and then what that looks like in Australia, just so that people can understand what we value here, and how that is so different to perhaps your background.
Okay, so the overall feeling that when I work in the as let's say that my work in China, and also even I have like Chinese employee in Australia as well. So the feeling it is like you listen to the instruction. Okay, so they will give you, I want you to do this, you will have to deliver this. Okay.
Yeah.
The possibility of the area of debate or saying, can I do a different way, is minimum.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that there's no chance of doing that. And of course, that is also in a situation if you send something is not right, you need to be smart as well, how to answer the question, ask that question to challenge that thought. That will relate to another very popular topic, especially for the Chinese culture, is the saving face situation. I learned a way to do that. Is just like, that is fantastic. I really like the idea. You have a good idea. So give the recognition first. And then I would say, however, at this one specific point, I'm not quite sure. And that is the moment you can point out that little bit of them. So
To add your point.
To add your point of that. Yeah. So yeah, that the feeling that I have that when working in especially in the future, when you get a I can't say like Asian boss overall. Just like if you have a someone from the culture, your boss with a culture with a collective like culture. So yes, obedience is one thing that you need to take that as a consideration. In a way, give them face first, which is always a good thing. They would love that. We all have that kind of feeling like, oh yeah, I got recognition from the people. So get that positive feeling first. And then you move on to the add on to, oh, can I add a little bit extra of my thought? Can we do that to deliver your message? So we give you a credit first.
Right.
But and also I think this is also a way that you can apply that when you work in Australian, this kind of work environment as well. So it is a way to show that we have very good manner, we have a friend, we polite, and we give recognition to others. And meanwhile, we are also willing to contribute to thoughts to deliver that specific the goal. We want to contribute to the goal. So yeah, so that way, how I approach is like combining. It can work in both society. That's my approach to working with different bosses from different cultural backgrounds.
Yeah, right. So just so that I'm clear, what you're saying is that what you've learnt, and welcome. We just had another student join. We're so pleased that we.
Hello.
This is David Gong, and he's a postgraduate student, and we're just talking about things that he has learned about the differences between working in other parts of the world where there are different structures, different value systems, and what he just shared is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that what he has learned, the way to adjust to working and communicating in an Australian environment, coming with a completely different background, is that when he's in a work situation, in a setting, he still is giving that authority to the individual, but then when there's an opportunity, diving in to ask more questions and to add value and contribute wherever he can. So he's still showing that respect of which is highly valued in, and it's not to say that respect is not valued in Australia, but that authoritarian idea is less strong, I would say, in Australian culture. So is that right? Did I summarize that correctly?
Yeah, I think it's pretty good about what you say. Is a very good summary of what I've just said for that long period of time.
I'd love to ask Gonzalo. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Hi, are you from South America?
I am not. I am from Europe, from Spain.
Oh, from Spain.
Brilliant.
We're just talking about working obviously working in Australia. And so tell me, what course are you doing? And as you've just joined us, I'd love to hear, David's here, has navigated working in Australia successfully, and has been sharing. So you're welcome to listen back to the recording.
Yeah,
My first question for you is, what course are you doing?
yeah. First of all, sorry I was late. I had another meeting. I'm at
Oh,
work
you're
now.
fine. I'm happy that you're here.
Yeah. So I am doing an MBA, and I'll finish in December. I started in March 2021,
Right.
and I have only 3 classes left.
Oh, well, I love it that you're here.
Mhm.
And so are you planning to stay on here to work for a couple of years through the postgrad? And what's your plans?
So my plan is to apply for the postgrad visa as soon as I finish, as well as for my 189 independent skill visa.
Right. And what sort of work are you interested in doing here in Australia?
Well, I just started a new job last week. So
Congratulations.
I am thank you, senior network engineer at the Sydney airport.
Oh,
So
Sydney Airport.
yeah, so I relocated to Sydney
Great.
this week, and yeah, I'm finishing the MBA online now. So yeah, the idea is to stay in Australia. I didn't ask for a sponsorship. I can handle it myself, I think,
Yes.
with the postgraduate while the PR arrives with the 189.
Yep.
Hmm.
So that's the plan for now. I don't like to make long-term plans, especially
Yeah.
after COVID. I learned that things change a lot and there's no point.
Hmm.
So yeah, I did my first year of the MBA online because the borders were closed. I only arrived in Australia this February.
Oh, how interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. And so do you mind just sharing, how you got your job at such an incredible position and what we can help you with, with David here and discuss, as you make these next, and David can answer questions for you, having been through, here. Tell us how you got your job.
So I think it was a LinkedIn offer that I applied for. I didn't apply to many jobs during these past months. I was enjoying my student life up on the Gold Coast. So, and I was also very picky. I didn't want to move, but then they called me for this one, and it was a great opportunity. They called me many times every day for a week. And yeah, giving me raises. And I was like, at the end, I was like, okay, I will go.
You're
I
playing
gave it a
well.
thought.
You're playing
I gave
well.
I gave it a good thought, and then I thought, at some point my plan was to move to Sydney. So I don't get to decide when, and the opportunity arrived now. So this is the time. You don't get to decide when opportunities arrive. Yeah.
I think
So
that's an interesting point too. It doesn't we have a timing for things, don't we? And we're like, we want that to happen at that time, but it's in the universe's time, isn't it? Not in our time.
Exactly. You just have to be ready for the doors when they open.
Yeah, ready when the doors are open. All right, beautiful. And so what prompted you to come in here? We've got Mary here as well. The session's being recorded, so I love that you're here and such an inspiration, for our other students. What prompted you to come in and join our session today?
Yeah. Well, hello, Mary. And there's one thing that I was lacking from my MBA experience, which is the networking with other students and seeing how that could benefit me, in the future.
Yes.
So since I started online, and then when I came into class, it was just like 1 hour session or 2 hours, like come and go. And then you're mixed with students that are not MBA, that they are doing other courses and the classes are shared, So it's hard to build that network that I thought I was going to build, and a useful one, not just like I made friends, but I was also expecting to build a professional network that would help me after.
Yes.
And that's not something I've been seeing that professors encourage. So like adding each other on LinkedIn, having sessions in which all of the MBA students together. I have not seen any of that. So I wanted to see if that's just because now that COVID happened, or if you have any other points of view.
Yes. Okay, great. And you've raised some really interesting points, and one of we were just saying actually that because this session, we were just debating as a team, just to share, openly in here, the recording or not recording, and what we really want is not to record. So we have people come in here, but then we're also conscious people love to be able to sit at home, because we want people to have these experiences exactly like you're saying, because there are probably hundreds and hundreds of other postgraduate students feeling isolated, confused, lonely, frustrated.
I'm not sure.
To know about other people's experiences, and also the hope. You come here to Australia. Share and build that network.
Yeah.
So I commend you. And if you're at home listening, we've got a few other workshops coming up over the next couple of weeks. So please jump in here. And it raises your profile immediately. Just by being in here, and that's showing up is half the battle. So I'm absolutely delighted. And also, as I shared last week in a
No worries.
not international workshop, but
Good. No worries.
was that the best way to network is to share with other people. The absolute number one. So I really appreciate you sharing the hope, of your story here.
Yeah, I agree. Sharing is good, but you need to have that space. Where are you going to meet these people? I was like in that space venues. I don't know. It's an expensive course. I think the uni could spend some resources on setting up meetings other than just virtual calls, and setting up meetings in which they invite us all to dinner. I think people would be more keen to join. So I think that I don't see anything coming back from uni to me other than virtual sessions. And yet, as you said, some people will listen to the recording. It's hard to. It's also hard to engage with someone and become a bit more personal in regards to like exchanging contacts if it's virtual. So I don't know what the options are for uni. Like I think the only meeting that we will have will be the graduation ceremony, and not even everyone is interested in going, myself included.
No, look, I will, in another capacity, I work with the Faculty of Business and Business Arts and Law. And I will take that feedback to the business school and the MBA program there, because I think it is really, really valuable feedback. But I also want to share a couple of ideas of additional ways where you can connect to that. So when there's two. There's one short-term, immediate one, and then there's a long-term one. So there is the Bright Futures Mentoring Program, which is run by SCU Careers, and it is open to postgraduate and undergraduate students. So it's the Bright Futures Mentoring Program. If you after this workshop, they will Joe, who's represented there, he's going to send out information about their service. It will be information about the Bright Futures Mentoring Program will be in there. But essentially what it is where you have a mentor here in Australia in your field. So, and you can choose from a list of other mentors, and that mentor you have over a period of a session, and you're given that person to help. So that's one option. The other is when you finish, you will join SCU Alumni, and there are alumni events, and there's alumni on LinkedIn. And I think you could probably even, if you have a look at SCU Alumni, you can probably connect to that alumni now, even through LinkedIn. So that's another platform. And then there's another small association, but I'll check that out within the MBA program that may be helpful and beneficial.
Okay.
Well. There's just a few.
So the association would be like a student resource organization.
Yeah.
So not like coming from the uni.
Yes, a student association. Yeah. So, but I will have a chat to the team, the business, the business arts and law faculty of where you're doing the program, and just really get that feedback back to them, because I do I do believe it's great. We've got a few. David's going to make a comment here, and I just Mary's just made a point here. So thanks, Gonzalo, for raising these really good points. He said, I also agree, and I'm currently an MBA student, just recently started. Yeah, so I will take that feedback back to the team. And David, yes, please.
Well, first of all, you two can team up because you both graduate student MBA. See, this is the benefit of you participate in different events. You do not know who you come across, and you two can share your journey of learning in the MBA program, and also share that kind of thought.
Find each other on LinkedIn.
Yeah, add each other on LinkedIn. Yeah, so it's a pretty good idea. So about this, like I totally hear your challenge, because at my uni, I'm currently in a uni as well.
Sorry, I just need someone just to turn one of their mics off. We just got a bit of yours, a bit of background noise.
Yeah, maybe mute the mic. Oh.
I think it's yours, Gonzalo. Ah, yeah, that's it. Perfect. Thank you.
All right. So in my own uni, I'm in a university in Brisbane here. So we have students actually in your same situation, especially they are studying MBA online, overseas students as well. So they face exactly the same challenge as you do have. So some of the thought that I have that group here is the first, Beck already mentioned it, join the alumni and just like participate as much as the event as possible. And meanwhile, think about this, if it's possible, you yourself can take that, initiate that conversation with. So for example, hey guys, shall we have a monthly catch up? You do not have to do any specific topic or whatsoever, just like catch up. What's happening in this month?
Yeah.
And then you can create something. I'm not saying that, so uni will, they definitely will take action to just according to your feedback, but they will take time to plan and then to what is the best way. So meanwhile, do it yourself. It's an online meetup. Like I remember back in the old day that actually after all the students graduate, we still keep in touch. Write them email, that sort of thing, it take forever. So just like, come on, let's just do it's like at that time we didn't use Zoom, but it's already have this kind of virtual meeting facilities. So if you happen to be in the same city, just catch up for coffee or lunch or that sort of thing. You can take that control. You can initiate that connection.
Yeah.
Okay. So don't just wait for other people to that for you. You can create something new for yourself. Okay.
Yeah, and thanks, David. I love that idea. And one thing that I've that also might be helpful along that line, Gonzalo, is and for the others here too, is I just started, and I'm sure it's nothing new, but just asking people for a virtual coffee. And it's just, and you just find someone, and I'm happy. You're welcome to, message, connect on LinkedIn and ask for a virtual coffee so we can hang out and just have a chat. Also with that in mind, if you're listening at home, as part of this workshop series, I'm running a series of just for intermittent periods, career consultations, one-on-one with me. And so I'll just pop my email address. It's rebecca.brown@scu.edu.au. Those will start towards the end of this month, speaking of virtual coffee sessions. And so that's on top of what you have with the SCU Career Service, who are available to you 24/7. I'm just a consultant here working in conjunction with the team. So Joe's team, who presented at the beginning, he's there here for you guys all the time. However, from the end of September through till early October, I'll run some one-on-one sessions. So Gonzalo, Mary, you guys want to just, we can call it our own virtual coffee section just to, catch up one-on-one to talk about how I can help you specifically, what you may need to improve. So for example, it might be, Gonzalo, you and I are just spending an hour talking about your LinkedIn and how we can help you build some of that additional network here, and how we can connect you to some extra people and some tips for you specifically around that, for example. And then Mary, whatever it may be that you need. So that's one other, but the virtual coffee, you can invite, so say Gonzalo, someone that's your Bright Futures mentor or somebody else that you see in our alumni network that that you think, oh, I'd really like to have some more time with, or know more about what they've done, ask them for a virtual coffee. And so send them a message through link. So ask to connect with them on LinkedIn. So join the alumni, ask to connect with them. And people, what I have observed over the years with our alumni is they're probably your best resource in many ways, other than your other students, because they have been through the process and they absolutely love to help. So when I was previously with the team, with Joe's team a number of years ago, they would send out invitations to invite our alumni, and people would just be like, I'm in, because they've been through it and they really want to help. So, I mean, it helps their career, but what I've observed is that they just really want to help. So I would say that would be one of your, or for everybody who's listening at home, and I so appreciate your feedback. And I think, Gonzalo, by you even being here and sharing that really just kind of demonstrates that you're a leader, and you haven't even finished and you're working at the airport in Sydney, got a cracking job, you're miles ahead, you're doing brilliantly, you're miles ahead. So I really appreciate that you're here, and I love honesty. I think that, the more we can kind of take any elephants out of the room and say, well, this is, these are the things, like David was talking about earlier about, the psychological impacts of making of our careers, and then being aware of that. So I really appreciate that. I'll stop talking for a second, please. We've got plenty of time. Who would like to make any comments on any of that? Oh,
it's mute.
Yeah, gotcha. Oh.
Did someone mute me?
Oh, yes, it's just the background noise.
Okay, I think when I do this, it mutes. Can you confirm? Can you hear me now?
Yes, yep, we can still hear you. That's better.
We still hear you.
I thought that muted the mic, but it looks like it doesn't.
Yeah, some headphones have that function. You string out it's like mute, but somehow.
This one used to. I just disabled the voice assistant because it was annoying all the time, telling me things, and now it just changed.
That's okay.
Well, anyway, thank you for the advice. And normally I like to lead a lot of things, and be leading associations, creating things, reaching out, getting the emails for everyone, sending invitations. But I didn't do that this time at uni. I've not had the best experience, to be honest. And you like honesty, I like honesty.
Yeah, please.
Sure.
So yeah. My only feedback is not to criticize, is if you are going to reach out to the team and see if they can organize things, because so far the advice that you've given me is do it yourself advice. So go find people on Alumni, titles that you like, add them, talk to them. So that's do it yourself. I don't see anything coming from the unit in regards of creating events to connect us.
Yeah.
The most events I see are coming from that Coasters Association. They do so much, and they're students.
Yeah. So, no, it's great feedback, and I will take it back. It'll take me a bit of time, as David said, to kind of poke around, and I'm an employee in one capacity, and I'm a consultant in another. But I'll been around long enough, bad enough, to kind of find how we can. I mean, essentially, you've highlighted, you're playing big to be here, and we do want to make sure that, or most importantly, that you're achieving what you want to achieve, and that you're able to achieve that facilitated by the course that you're doing to the best of our ability, and you are making it happen for yourself by being here and contributing today. So you've raised your own profile, which is amazing, which is essentially what we're talking about in terms of networking, is raising your profile and knowing what you stand for. And so, the parts of those about your message, about who you are. But also, I think you're an amazing example of somebody that's navigated a really difficult process during really difficult times, and been able to gain work. So I really appreciate that. David, any comments?
Yeah, so I keep thinking about what are the opportunity that you can create for yourself to do the networking situation. So first of all, just keep working with your own uni. They will be a very good source. And meanwhile, this is my personal experience, I actually get myself out there to join different industry associations. And they also have this kind of networking event happening as well. And many of them is free, and you just show up and to join. So it's one thing that you probably need to keep an eye on where these resources are available. My way of doing this is first by networking. So yes, I talk to my network and then say, hey, if you have any industry events that I'm really happy to be, so can you take me with you? The other thing is that I follow some of the interesting, some of the associations web LinkedIn profile, whatever profile, that they always have some kind of event coming out, and you just register. For example, my background is hospitality, tourism, event management, so I just subscribe all of them in my field. So they will coming in event. So when you in those networking event, it is the time for you to say, okay, for me, this is my me. I give myself a mission. At least I need to network with one people to put that person on my connect network. So that person will be the one that actually I have a very thorough conversation with, and then we have found some mutual common ground of interest. So I give myself a little task to do that, rather than because this is a way that for me to be proactive rather than waiting for things to happen. This is my style, push through my network. And after that, build up that network, and just always show your interest to that network. Multiple way to do that way. For example, we mentioned that we can do a catch-up coffee or catch-up virtual, or even face-to-face, more genuine. And also these days, make good use of LinkedIn. Whatever they're posting, like it. I found that even more efficient is to write a comment and just say that, thank you so much for sharing this. I found this information really really helpful. Just think about from the other side, that person, rather than to just see a like, they actually, your name is pop up more. So this is a way that for me to build up my profile. One small little way to build up my profile, just every now and then, hi. So that person will remember you. And you already build up this a very good relationship with, build a positive image over there. And then when opportunity comes in, I can't remember anybody else, but I remember you because you appear in my social media so many times. So they would just take an initiative, hey, hello, I have these things coming. What are you interested to do? So this thing happened to me multiple times. Okay, so I invited to be as a guest speaker multiple times to doing different topics, and then participating in the some kind of social event is very specific for some kind of member only things. Yeah, so this is style. We probably need to be a bit of creativity, bring in some creativity, how to make those opportunities for yourself. Okay, so it does take time to practice. Okay, it's not saying it sounds easy what I said. I've been practicing this in my entire career when I come to Australia here. Yeah, so this is the culture that we have in Australia workforce. Networking is pretty much the key, very important skill that actually can push in a long way. So it is something that is, I think we mentioned this back, is like a hidden superpower. It is not really mentioned much about in the resume writing or something. I rarely see a resume that, can you please give me a sample to prove that you have very good networking skill? Because that is not actually sort of required at work when you get a job. But that job opportunity come in based on you have this networking skill and then to bring yourself to that point. Yeah, so that's my comment on if like when you think you feel stuck, oh, I don't have much resources that can bring you to have that kind of network with others. Yes, hopefully this is some idea it can be helpful. Yeah.
Thank you, David. Until what time does this last? Because I'll have to drop at 10:30. You're on mute, Beck.
Sorry. Yeah, that's perfect. David's here until 10:30, and I plan to just present a couple of slides, compliance type slides, and things that students, international students, maybe needed to be aware of for working. But I just wanted to share a couple of slides here with you to add to some of the themes that we're talking about here. And to just see if we can, so what struck me and what came to mind along with what David was saying there about, you know, what our network looks like. And Alison was here last week from the Postgraduate Association, and she talked about it being like a spider. And although we can often, off the top of our heads, think that we don't have a really large network, particularly, you know, in a situation where you're in another country. And so writing down, if you actually physically write down, or even do like get a big piece of paper and do some bubbles. And so think about who your friends are here. And then those few students, if you're doing the MBA, for example, who are they? You've got your lecturers. Okay, well, have I know as an online student, it can be really hard to make that connection with a lecturer. And I'll just give you one example about how you can actually do that. Just to sort of as a little side note. So there's a specific example in another capacity, in fact, at a different university. I have 87 students, right? And it's an online class. I don't see their faces. And so you imagine in a setting like that, pretty difficult to stand out. All right, how do you stand out other than asking questions in class? It's a 1-hour class that we run, so it's a really tight schedule. But I have this one student who, you know, if I you know, had to give somebody a job. So where are we in the semester? We're about week 8, all right. And if I had to give a job or pass on a lead that came, I have one student that has stood out. And I'll tell you how she has stood out. Really by, she writes really polite, really engaging emails to me, not a ton of them, but she asked questions. Then she got her assignment. She got both written and oral feedback on it. And she'd done really well, and she actually wanted more feedback. And so we arranged yesterday and spent time chatting. Now, she is 1 in 87 students, so a really small percentage, you know, in terms of if you're going to get imagine they've all applied for a job, she would be the number 1. And in terms of the input and the time that it's taken her, it's not a lot. She's had a half an hour chat with me and sent a few emails. So that's just an example about how in an online and in challenging environments where we're learning and we don't have a corridor to hang in and access to those people face to face. That's just one way. So if you're listening from home and you are a postgraduate student and you will be a postgraduate student and an international student, but if you'd like to just raise your profile with one of your network, because your lecturers, your tutors, and anybody else associated with that unit. So you probably will get emails from the international office. What I've observed over the years is that a number of our international students get employed into the international office, and they get it by being seen. And I know that in an online capacity, it can be really hard to be seen. So I just wanted to share that. Join associations. So for you, for those of you doing MBAs, there will be all sorts of different business associations in Australia, depending on what element of MBA. So whether it's, you know, you want to focusing into the future, whether you're interested in kind of the management, whether you're doing MBA but you want to get into, you know, hospitality, tourism, events, they will all have associations that you can already look into now. But I wanted to show you this this slide here. David's talked quite a lot about events, and I think it was you, Mary, somebody shared last week, which was, oh no, it was Isabel last week, about Eventbrite and getting an account with Eventbrite, because there's often relatively cheap events on there. I think, but if you actually map out who your friends and family, and then friends of friends and your landlords, and, you know, you would be surprised that you've actually got a much bigger network. And if you are in a situation where you immediately, you know, if you're listening from home and you suddenly find that you need to get some part-time work, write down, who do I know? And when you see it on paper, it then gives you more ideas. So I just wanted to add that. Oh, there we go. Godzilla had to go. All right, beautiful. Any feedback? I know I'm conscious of your time, David. Have you got 2 minutes or a couple of minutes?
Oh yeah, I can stay back a little bit. Yeah, that's no problem. Don't feel stressed about it.
Thank you. I've just got some questions because you've shared so much. I've got some questions that I just scribbled down this morning.
Okay.
And I think there's some things that we haven't yet touched on. In your, and this will sort of relate really back to something that came, I think, with Mary early on. We've looked at a lot of like your solutions and strategies. But I would love to know that if there's anything, you know, when we're reflecting, if you were to look back on your time coming to Australia and all the hoops you've had to, and all the twists and turns, is there anything that you would do differently?
Right. I think one thing definitely I would do differently, it is to reaching out to people when I'm in a difficult situation.
Right.
So that is also related back to what I said about my cultural background. Asked me to, it influenced by my cultural background.
Right.
Because I think to show vulnerable, to show that you need help, it is something that it is weakness, showing you being weak. Okay. Even that's something when I was talking to my parents, I'm feeling really stressed and anxious. My dad's comments like, "Oh, just tough it out, just slip through it, and that'll be fine." Yep. So that is how I grow up with. Okay.
Yep.
And then, but because they are not in my situation, I have multiple layers of different kind of stress that come to me. So I'm just still using the way that I know to deal with it. Right. It's actually cost me quite a lot of mental distress and following. I can't sleep, and it's just a lot of things going on with that. But so one thing that I probably would do differently, it is like to just like put that guard down, and then just like not saying, just acknowledge the fact that we can't do everything. It is always good that to go out to ask for help, and also that you have people that is actually willing to help you as well. So that is the one thing that I definitely would do differently, especially in my difficult moments.
Thank you, and I think you've raised some really important, and I really appreciate the honesty. Is that there will be many of our international students that do come from cultures where and different parts of Asia, of course, and South all over the world.
Every place, yeah.
Showing any face or showing weakness or what's perceived weakness. It's great strength actually to be vulnerable and ask for help. But I think, but it starts by seeing examples of people like yourself that step into that space and say, this is who I am and this is what's happened for me. That then I think it eases that pain and that isolation that other people feel about not being afraid to ask for help. So I'm so grateful that you have shared that. And what have you learned? I think you probably covered this, but if there's anything that you've learned, I guess it's much the same, learned from your mistakes.
Okay.
Any specific mistakes where you've just gone, oh, you know what, I've had my time again, I wouldn't actually make that mistake, as opposed to, I guess, having new insight or wanting to do things differently from
I make multiple mistakes in my career and in my life as well. So I acknowledge that, which is cool because that's how I grow. So one other thing that I notice is the don't wait things until the last minute. So that's the one thing that I have a little bit of my procrastination happening, and that even including in my graduation, because that is the time that I just sort of like, should I stay in Australia? Should I go home? And then just like this kind of back and forth or swing for a long period of time, and actually to the point that I actually run out of my graduate visa.
Yeah.
Okay. So it is actually could be a really good thing that a little bit earlier in your study to begin to think about, okay, so at some point in my life, I need to make a decision. What is my goal? Like, do I prefer to stay in Australia? This is the environment that I want to work, to spend my rest of my life in, or I want to go back to my home country to have a career over there, because that is a two different career pathway. And then you may need different skills and experience to do that as well. So prepare that a little bit earlier. So I gone through, I make the mistake, just wait until my visa expires. So I got a bigger panic for a little while. I need to get hands on like whatever comes in opportunity. So I got a sponsorship to work in a restaurant a bit. So but that is not worth to have that kind of panic in your life.
That's a great suggestion. Thank you, because I've observed from a distance a number of students. I think because it is such a big decision and all the complexity of it, I have observed international students who have left have gotten into a real pickle at that point. And so I think it's a great reminder to plan early and to, I guess, make a decision. I'm going this way, for the better part of is how decisions go. Make an earlier decision to commit to one of those pathways. And that's easier said than done. That's amazing. Working solutions, we've done all of that. Top tips. Oh, I've just got one final question for you, David. You just have to be the most exquisite person to have here and interview, and I'm going to chat and find out how we can get the things that you've shared out to as many people, including our MBA students, how we can get this video to them, and certainly share your insights, because I think they've just been incredible. But I can see it and we can all hear it in your presentation. But I just wanted to ask you, why do you think you've been successful in making, I don't know what the percentage is in terms of how many international students come to Australia and then what percentage of them stay. But my observation would be that it's a really small percentage. And so my question for you is, why do you think that you have been successful, other than those amazing things that we've highlighted, and it could be it could be a recap of things we've talked about, when so many incredible human beings come to Australia, I've got tingles, with so much hope and optimism, and you've been able to stay and build your life here. What is it that you think that has made you, the top things that have made you successful over others?
So that is my another secret weapon
Yeah,
that I have.
love a
is,
secret weapon.
Keep open-minded
Yeah.
and keep developing yourself. So because that I have many classmates or my friends, classmates that they stay in Australia, they have excellent skill, but they are really stick with their own value and the way of doing things.
Right.
And they are not really just to a point that like, I don't really want to listen to other people's point of view and see how things, especially when they feel challenged.
Yeah.
Okay. So like, for example, simple things that's like that, to challenge your authority to give, not say challenge in a bad way, just like give different opinion. So they can't deal with that. So they decided, okay, I don't want to stay. This is not the life environment they have. Okay. So just be open-minded to understand what is the local culture is, and then just like embrace that, because you haven't been exposed to that value. It's like a shock for the beginning, but it doesn't mean that it is not the thing that you do not want. Okay. So for example, that like at the beginning, I feel like this is being sarcastic. It is one of the fun things that Australians actually really enjoy to do. At the beginning, when I first experienced, I feel a huge shock that you're so rude to me for things like this. But actually have a deeper conversation. Oh, it's just like a way to being funny or being like, but this kind of funny thing to me, it is no. I did not realize that.
It's not funny. Aussies are not
because
funny.
what the supervisor said that, because so that situation is like me being work very if efficient, like finish things on way ahead of time, and I'm becoming very cruisy my rest of the day. And the manager, you're just not working really hard, isn't it? And I was like, I've been working so hard to prove that I can do it, but I know what you said. And then not at that moment, I didn't like fight back or whatsoever. It's like, hey, keep going in a way. But later on, actually put in my heart for a long time, until the next day I actually talked to her. Hey, I just want to double check, is there something that I didn't do right? Like, no, you've been fantastic. I'm just like being funny and doing sarcastic ways. Like, and then I thought, this is Australian culture. Okay. So that's a good example that for us, I witnessed so many times that my friends, they're all living their own bubbles, speak the same language, hang out with the same group of people of their own ethnic group. Just not being open to expose to different things. In Australia, it is a very multicultural environment. And this is the life, and we need to have that kind of being open-minded and constantly developed and showing your interest with part of people's life. And that actually kept me going. So every day for me, just so I still like exploring new things. So that's I got my joy of living here. And that actually kept me going to live in Australia and finding new things. My reason interest in Aboriginal art and culture. That's my reason thing. So to all my Chinese friends, like, you are so weird. But it is something that is fascinating. You are staying here with the land and the people, that's their way of living. So so that's my other secret weapon. Show interest in other people, be open-minded, adjust that a little bit to find the thing you want to get.
That's so incredibly beautiful, I guess, point to end on, because you really talked about which some people listening may or may not have heard of as a fixed versus a growth mindset. And when you the world requires us, success in our careers requires us to look at, rather to stay in a fixed, keeping a fixed perspective on things, to be open and to try new things, and like you said, to fail and to make mistakes, but then to keep going. So I think that's a beautiful segue, and we've taken heaps of your time, David, and I'm so, yes, hang on, Mary wants to add something.
Yes,
David's only going to go, it'll be you and me, Mary, and I'm just going to spin through a couple of just things around how to work safely in Australia, but I'll leave David for the rest. Mary would like to add something, so thank you so much, Mary.
I'm sorry, this is to David. Thank you for sharing your experience of working and living here in Australia. For me, I feel you're already streaks ahead because you have that experience. I haven't lived in this country for too long, and when I did come in, COVID hit. So I feel like being like socializing was it was just, we couldn't. And so I feel with COVID, it's just made me very antisocial, I think. But to your points that you've mentioned, being very guarded, I found that was kind of similar, relatable, and just opening up. Another point you mentioned, procrastination, I feel is also on a similar note, but again, it's planning ahead and having that motivation, which I feel you keep mentioning, or you kind of give off that vibe of, perseverance and just continuing. So thank you for that. Again, inspirational. Mindfulness, another thing that you mentioned, which I thought, yes, I have to also be like, keep that in mind, and just trying to be, because that comes into play with reaching out and trying to build that network. So again, that was good. Another point you mentioned was the how the Australian culture, or like just getting to understand, because when you do come into this country, there's a sense of vulnerability. How can I join? How, will I connect with people correctly? Am I saying the right thing? So again, you did touch on some of those points, and that was really good. Criticism was another thing that I picked up while you were talking about. And I think as opposed to taking it negatively, I think I should take a positive angle to it. So not always look at it from a negative perspective, but to say, okay, if they're having a bad day, let that be a bad day. I'll just move on, and not try to ponder on it a lot. So again, another point that you mentioned on. But overall, I thank you very much for sharing, and I wish there were a lot more students, that would have joined, so we could all share experience. Like I said, it's just, for me, it's almost only 2 years in this country, and I haven't even connected with other people because of COVID. But you sharing your experience in Gonzalo as well, and it gives hope. That was another word. It gives hope.
Yeah,
And so
beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, that is a beautiful word.
thank you very much, David, on that.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you for giving that feedback, and thank you for so beautifully. You did a lovely little recap at some interim points, and highlighting some key points, and thank you for your kindness and for sharing. And you raised a really amazing point there about hope, because when we were thinking about this workshop, and Isabel, who was here last week, and she's from Spain, and we were talking about she does quite a lot of work in South Australia with international students, and hope was what we wanted. We wanted that message to come, that there is hope. So hopefully Mary, and you're going to be fine, Mary, because you're here and you're showing up, and we love it.
Yep.
Thank you so much. I'll leave you to it, David.
Okay.
And we'll catch up very soon. I'm incredibly grateful. Thank you.
Well, I wish you the best of luck, Mary. You're going to be fantastic. You already be here, and your journey can just expand from here. Or whatever. Okay, cool. Fantastic.
Okay.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cheers.
All right. What I'd like to do now is I just want to bring up just 2 more slides, just to highlight a couple of things that we will be running other workshops on resumes, cover letters, interviews. So look out for all of those. They're in our normal series. This was a slide, in fact, with Gonzalo that I was looking for earlier. Just a few other, the gym, your sporting clubs, your shops, the community. You'll be surprised how many people you probably know, in your neighborhood. If you don't know people in your neighborhood, start chatting to your neighbors. You'd be surprised what people around you. You remember all those people, think of that spider web, all those people know people. And get involved. So as David said, that one of the things for him is or one of his roles too now is that he is in a teaching capacity at another university, but he gets involved, even before that, got involved with activities. So that's so volunteering. And I said earlier, I talked about work experience versus volunteering and internship. As part of the MBA program, you can, I know that everybody's not MBA and you'll be from all different courses, but just with the MBA, you have an elective that you can do to do internship from memory, or you should still do, unless something's changed really recently. And at the moment, employers are desperate to find people, so you may be able to get paid while you study. So I would strongly suggest that you do that. Or you could do as Gonzalo is doing and you know, work while you you know, not in a formal internship, but some sort of work integrated learning. With the world opening up again, there will be much more demand for people, for volunteers. So there's all sorts of events. So if you're interested in car racing, then there's, you know, Formula One on the Gold Coast. So think about what you love. You know, maybe you're interested in, you know, comics. So find out where, you know, the comic convention is, or what other opportunities are coming up around your areas of interest. And I'm conscious of time here. Just trying to see. Yeah, so we've got a couple more minutes. I just want to, as I said earlier, I just want to finish up, excuse me, with the slides here. I just want to scroll right down to the end here. And I want to just talk about this one here. Oh, damn, it won't do that. Okay, excuse me one sec. I'm just going to scoot through all the way here. Apologies for this. As I said, just a reminder, we've got lots of other workshops coming up around anything you may need to know. So please come and join us live. As you can see, it's really informal and a safe place. So just a couple of things. When you work in Australia, for those of you that are listening at home and you're early into your career, you will need a tax file number to work here in Australia. Everybody must pay tax. So you order your tax file number through the Australian Taxation Office. There are the contact details there. And you will be able to get your tax, you'll get a tax return. And any additional tax that you paid, you'll get a tax return that you can organise before you leave the country. One thing that has come up over the years that I've observed is that employers are much more common these days. You'll find advertisements for employers wanting you to work under your own ABN. Now, this is fine. So it's an Australian business number. However, you run the risk of, at the bottom, you see it says, be aware. So if you choose to work on an ABN, you're not covered by what we call public liability insurance. So you can get public liability insurance, but depending on the nature of your work, and I just heard on the radio how much public liability insurance is going up, but you're looking at about $2,500. And so employers, there's a growing number of employers have been doing is putting the onus on the employee to take care of themselves. But if you work under an ABN here in Australia, you will essentially have no rights, which means no sick pay, no workplace insurance, and certainly no superannuation. It's a requirement for employers to pay superannuation for employees here. But if you're employed under an ABN, sometimes they'll offer you a really good rate of pay. My suggestion would be proceed with real caution and consider. So if you see a job advertisement for a job here in Australia and the money's really good, but it's a really tiny ad and it says, you know, work under your own ABN, I would give it a really wide, an expression here, give it a wide berth. So avoid it. Because sometimes it can be a scam, but also they're not likely to be looking after you whilst you work here in Australia. So what that means is if you work under an ABN and you have an accident here in Australia, you fall down at work, you will have to pay all of those hospital cover costs. You might like to take a screenshot of this. It's just some places where you can find work online. I really, really, really encourage you, and if you came to our workshop last week, there is a recording actually, in fact, of it. We talked all about networking. Last week was a slide where employers look amongst the people they know, but employees often look online, and they're looking at the least likely place. So you're going to get a job most likely through your network, and that may be like your landlord, for example. And just a couple of other important things. As international students, you are open to, because English isn't your first language, and or predominantly, and you're not familiar with working in Australia, you're more open to being taken advantage of in the workplace. And so, not to be a downer, but I just want to make sure that I've given you the best tools that I can give you to make sure that you're safe at work. So what can happen, and I've heard experiences this in the past, and a rate of pay hasn't been agreed. People haven't been given a contract with their duties and responsibilities clearly outlined by the employer. You need to know that whether you're working part-time, full-time or casual. So what are the terms of your employment contract? Needing to know your start and work time. Now, there may be variations on this, but you need to know the agreements of that work that you will be doing, what you will be doing, and what will be expected of you for how long, how many hours you'll be working in a week. And another just really, really important point, here are some places where you can get help. So if you need to refer back to this at any point, it is illegal in Australia to discriminate against any employee in the workplace based upon their race, religion, political beliefs, sexual orientation, age, disability, gender, the status. So, if you're caring for elderly or parental, caring for children, or anything to do with your physical features. So please be aware that if you do feel as though you have received any discrimination for whatever reason, because just being more vulnerable by being an international employee here in Australia leaves you just a little bit more open to those. Not to say that these things will happen, but I want to make sure you know where to get help. We've got more masterclasses coming soon. And in fact, next week, we're going to be talking specifically about part-time work. We will have, and so we'll talk about resumes, interview, in a part-time work capacity. So please come along to that yeah, come in and start your networking with us. Thank you so much for those that are listening at home. Thank you so much for those that have joined us face to face. Goodbye, and Mary, I'll chat to you in a moment, and we'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much. Bye bye.